What's up, guys? So I was working on a concept, and I figured I'd bring you guys along for the ride. And I'm using a very basic piece of software called Subbox Pro. Look this thing up; it's free. It's nothing great about it. It's not perfect, but it will at least get you in the ballpark of a build, or even uh, help you build something, as long as you're not being too wanting to be too perfect about it, because it doesn't use the TS perimeters for the subwoofer. It just uses a generic subwoofer perimeter setup. So it's going to give you kind of a generic tuned box. But oh, let me just show you. I'm going to switch the view up here. So in here, the first thing you do, well, it doesn't matter which one of these you do first. You could do any of them in any order, and you can change them in any order. All you do is update whenever you get done changing something. You just come down here and hit the button. In this case, I know that I'm going to need 48 inches wide. That's the maximum width I can use. And this is actually going to be laying down, but so that my enclosure will be laying like this. But when you're building and designing, the part that the subs are mounted on are always going to be considered the front of the box. So this would be the height. This would be the height. This would be the width. Okay. It's always going to put the port on the side, and it's always going to make that. So you just have to orient it the right way. So the height is 44. That's this direction. Pretty sure. Yeah. And the width is 48. That's this direction. And it's going to calculate the depth once you get done. So then you come down here and you tell it how many cubic feet you need. I needed 13 cubic feet. This is your material thickness. It's usually going to be 3/4 inch. I just leave it at its default. You're going to need this if you're going to if you're going to use the build instructions. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it there, actually, because it won't let me connect it. Some of this stuff isn't clickable. Um, like up here, if you go into, I'll show you. Like if you go into ported box, sealed box, and ported box, it's got these other ones, but they're not, they're grayed out, right? So we're not going to use that. And what we're building is a sixth order, but I'm building the bottom ported chamber in this to kind of get some ideas. So once you know that, you know what your internal volume is going to be. And see, that is the total internal volume. This is the net. So when you put in that you need 13 cubic feet here, it's going to automatically calculate how many cubic feet that takes up space-wise on the outside after everything is considered. Now on the subwoofer, there's not a whole lot you can enter. Again, this is a pretty basic setup. I can put in 4 subwoofers, the size, and you just collect it and select the size. And then the cutout diameter is 13.88. Again, this is not important if you're not going to use the actual build instructions, but mine's like 13.88. I just put 14. And I put in a mounting depth. 0.25 woofer displacement. It's pretty good for a 15. You can figure that's pretty close. And this changes the position of the subwoofers, if I remember correctly. Let me see what that does. Okay, yeah, that moves them around. All right. I think this will also do a negative. So if I do like a -6, I think it'll move them the other direction. Yeah, okay. It's probably good. So that's how you can move the subs around. And then the distance between subwoofers is here. So you can change this. Does it give you a drop down? No. So we can change this to, say, I don't know, 6 or 16. No, that's kind of big. Let's try 6, if I can get my fingers to work. And then we hit the calculate. Yeah, that moves the subs around. Uh, and I'm going to change that to, say, 4. We'll get that set where we want it. And that's close. And then we'll make this offset 3 and calculate. There we go. That's a little better. So that allows you to move the subs around on the box. Then your port, you can do a pipe in the right panel or pipe in the front panel. And if you do it in the right panel, it's going to pop out over here. Slot right panel and slot front panel. And I have mine set for slot front panel, which makes it come out here. If I did slot right panel, it would just make this port really long and it would come out down here. So I want it to come out here though. And my tuning frequency is 22. I want 80 inches of port area, 20 inches per sub. In this case, that's a pretty small area for these subs, but I want wind, and so I'm going a little bit tight on that. And then once you hit the calculate button or you put that in, it'll give you your port length, and it'll also show your port displacement. So the port displacement, that 1.32, is this chunk of space right here that's taken up by the port. And this is the net. After that displacement, this is the net cubic feet in the box, minus the subwoofers and minus the port and all that stuff. So then you end up with that. Anything in here you can do? I don't remember. Okay. All right. Now, when you get done with your build, whatever you end up doing here, you can go to plan, and it will literally give you a cut sheet based on what you just did. And you can come down here and cut these pieces just to match these dimensions, and it'll be every single piece you need to make this box. So it makes it pretty easy to build and pretty simple. Also, once you get everything, you can see that it even positioned my subwoofers. It gave me the measurements to get to the center, to center up the speakers. Everything is all there. You know, if I left it just exactly this way, this is exactly what I would expect to cut out and how it would all go together. So, and will this work? Yes. Is it perfect? No. And the reason it's not perfect is because there's no till small perimeters. There's nowhere to put those in. In order to make a box that's perfect for your subwoofers, you need to be able to put in the till small perimeters because every subwoofer is a little bit different. And those differences will change things, like more excursion is going to change how long the port needs to be or how the port velocity works, or maybe even the length and width of the port. There's some variances that are going to change. Will this give you a box that will work? Yes. It's not going to be optimal. Well, it might be. You might get lucky. But it will give you something that works. Now, I know this is a strange looking box, but understand that my box is going to be going laying flat like this. And the seats in my Tahoe will be right here in this area. And there'll be a top section that comes up and comes forward with another port up here. And that's going to be because it's the sixth order, 415s and a sixth order. That's what we're doing here. That actually looks pretty good. The placement's pretty good. So what I do on this, besides what you see. All right, now again, if you've got a box that's to spec and you're looking at it like this on a different program, I'm going to tell you some things that you need to know that it may not tell you to do. Okay. Inside this enclosure, there is, what was it, like 6,000 pounds per square inch? Some ridiculous number. It's insane how much pressure 415s will put on the inside of this enclosure. It's absolutely insane. It's just a ridiculous number. So the hardest thing you can think of is going to flex. This is going to move. Now, these sides of the box are all attached on four sides, right? Attached there, 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 and over there. So at least they have that going for them. But the port is one thing that people overlook. It's going to be attached on the ends, on both ends over here, and attached across up here. But down here at the bottom, it's a big opening, right? So I would account for that, add a little bit of cubic foot to the box, add at least a second layer right here on this piece, on this side, on the inside, not in the port, but over here. I'd add a second layer in here, at least that, and here, a second layer here, a second layer there, and then I would probably come in here and add a strip like like a 2 inch by 2 inch strip on top of that, right in this corner to make it super thick right there. And then I would come down here and maybe cut like a 3 inch dowel in half or something like that, and make it there for that rounded edge and add that a little bit more thickness to this. You want all the meat right here, and on the back side of this, um, because this thing is going to get deformed big time. When that air starts pressurizing this side of this port, it's going to cause that port to flex like crazy, and in this direction and this direction, and make noise as well as cause all kinds of problems. So lose pressure in the enclosure. Um, and then also, I would want to do dowels. So in this section right here, this little opening down here, I'd come down here and do one about a third in and another one about a third down, a little like 3 inch dowel or something, round dowel, screwed and glued through the bottom and through the port. And over here, the same way, in that section right in the middle there, I'd do a dowel here and another one down here, screwed and glued. Um, and then I might even, yeah, that'd probably be pretty good. It depends on how much pressure you're going to do. And then whenever you build the box like this, you'd want to come on the outside and add layers over here on all six sides. The baffle would need to be like 3 or 4 layers thick, like 2 to 3 inches thick, at least. All the sides and the bottom would all need to be thicker. But the thing is, you can build on to that, right? You can add on to all this, but you need to have this port reinforced from the go. When you first build this, put it together, you need to have the port figured out. You need to have it sorted out on the inside, thick and solid and well braced. And the other thing is, when you add a baffle, you add baffle layers. From this point, you're going to be adding thickness to this port. You're going to be adding length to the port. So if you're going to be putting baffle layers on here, you have to take that into account for this length. And the way you measure that length when you're trying to figure it out is from there to there, and you measure down the center. So you don't measure this side here or this side here. You measure in the center, in that space in the middle. And whatever you got right there is going to show over here. Go to port. It's going to show 23.33 inches. So if you know that you're going to be adding three layers of baffle to it on top, like say you're going to put 4 layers up here, then you're going to take into account those other 3 layers, and you'll have to take that off the end of this port. So it'd be 3/4 and 3/4, 1.5 inches, 2 1/4. So you'd come down here and you'd make the port. You just take 2 1/4 off. Actually, yeah, you'd take 2 1/4 off this length right here, and that would keep your port tuning and make up the difference. But you got to get the port right, and then that way when you start stacking up here, you're good. Now you can put layers, like you can do like 2 layers or 3 layers, and then put your cutout for your subs in, and then maybe do your last layer as a layer that goes around the subs so they have a recess to them. And that's kind of cool because it makes it makes putting the subwoofer in easier, especially if you're going to invert it and put the magnet on the outside. Having that recess allows you to just drop that sub in, and it's going to automatically, if it's nice and tight around the edge of this outer mounting flange, then when you drop it in there and you roll those edges on the inside of that mounting hole, you get a router bit in there and round those edges over. When you drop this sucker in there, it's going to center right up perfectly, and you don't have to worry about, getting your surround caught up in that mounting hole, the edge of that mounting hole. So having that last layer be recessed is actually pretty good. It also looks pretty clean that way. Now, when you're mounting them this way, doing a recessed baffle can kill you because you won't be able to get to the damn mounting flange to pull the subwoofers out. So that's something you got to keep in mind too. Once you drop these subs in and screw them down, when it comes time to pull one of them out, how are you going to get your fingers in there to get to them? Think about that. Consider that. You might want to have some kind of little, notch where you can get your finger down in there. So there's always things to think about when you're building, and these little tricks that'll help you. But the thing is, I didn't take this into consideration enough when I started messing with subwoofers. Is the amount of pressure that's built up in the box. And you see guys building these boxes with 3 or 4 layers thick wood and stuff like that. That's no joke. I mean, you just wouldn't believe how much pressure happens, and it's not just positive pressure, but also negative pressure. So this box experiences, a tremendous amount of pressure pushing out on all directions, and then on a 30 hertz frequency, it also gets hit. So it gets hit going in too, and it's going to get hit, 30 times a second at maximum pressure pushing out, and then maximum vacuum pulling in. It's just going to wrench the thing apart. So you got to build it like you want it to go through a war zone. If you don't, it's going to degrade. It's going to start rattling, getting loose and flopping and doing things in its lifetime, and you won't like it. And then you'll be chasing down stuff trying to fix it. You do not want to be in that position. So go stupid on your structure. Now, if you're building something fairly simple, a single 12 or a single 10 or something like that, and you're not going to be putting 8,000 watts on the box, you're looking at doing something a whole lot lighter than that, 500 watts, 1,000 watts on a single 12 or whatever. You ain't got to be quite as picky about it, but when you're doing something like this, you got to get stupid with your dimensions. And in this case, I'm just getting a rough idea of what I'm going to do, what's probably going to happen. For the details, because I don't have the TS perimeters, for this final design, my buddy will be putting it on his software and giving me a full design, but I bet you it ain't going to be too far off. It will be a little bit different. It's showing my box depth at 14.7 inches, and he's already told me that his rough calculations put it at 15 inches deep. So I know that I know that the thing is pretty damn close. But anyway, I just wanted to let you guys in on this little design session that I'm going through and show you kind of what one way you can do this. Now, there's other programs out there that are free that allow you to put in the TS perimeters and stuff. There's also paid versions of programs. This one doesn't have a paid version. This is all you get, but it is totally free and it runs in the browser, so that's cool. This is a good place to start if you don't have nothing else. This will damn sure get you about 95% of the way there on pretty much anything. So, if you just want to keep it simple, this is a real simple program to use. You put your specs in and slap that calculate button. And then you can you saw how I changed the other stuff. You can come down here and pull your cut sheet. You can do all kinds of stuff up here. There's all kinds of little tricks, but mess with it. See what you think. You can change we can change the wood to rosewood. Get that pretty grain going. You can get a real good look at what it's going to look like. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you know about other software out there that's free, or to put that down in the comments. If you know about good software that doesn't cost very much, or even software that's really nice, list that in the comments. But by all means, put the stuff down there. If you have any questions about anything, be sure and throw those down there too, because somebody, if not myself, somebody else will answer those questions and help you. We're all about trying to work together and build a good bass community, a good car audio community. Really, is we don't just do bass, just do big, SPL systems. We do SQ too. So if you have any questions, throw them down there in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer them and give you guys something to work with. If you found this helpful, slam that like, hit that subscribe. For now, guys, peace.